What's up guys, welcome back. So today's episode, I'll be going over the NPTE, our boards exam, and some of my studying tips and my experiences throughout the past 2 months or so. So basically the NPTE stands for National Physical Therapy Examination, and it is a test that we all have to take in order to be licensed after we graduate. And the test itself is 250 questions, multiple choice on the computer, and they only count 200 out of the 250. This video probably won't make too much sense if you're not close to taking the test, but make sure you save this video for later when you're about to take the test, or if you've already taken the test, then you definitely don't want to revisit those nightmares. So let's get started. So for the NPTE, I would recommend about 6 to 8 weeks of studying, and because anything more, you'll probably just burn out or lose focus, and anything less, you might have to cram a little bit more, which is not ideal. So for me, I did 6 weeks. So I've heard people studying on their last rotation and taking it right after they graduate, and it works out. And then also some people from our class started working with a temporary license, and they study during that time as well. And I'm not sure how that schedule will work, but they did it, so props to them. But I personally would take 6 weeks off just to focus on studying. Most people use the O'Sullivan, the Therapy Ed book, as their main book to study off of, and that's what I did too. And I also got the Score Builders book, which a lot of people use as well. But this one I mainly bought for the practice tests. So each book comes with 3 practice tests. I also have this course manual, which I thought was very helpful. It summarizes a lot of the stuff from the bigger textbook. And these 2 were provided from our school, so which is great. I also got the PEAT, the PEAT, the practice exam, 2 of them, toward the end of my studying, and which most people did as well. The test is supposed to resemble the NPTE the most, and also it's a very good predictor of whether you'll pass or not. But personally, I actually thought the NPTE was definitely a little bit harder than the PEAT, but either way, it was really good practice. So I would recommend the PEAT toward the end. As for studying, there's no set formula, there's no set schedule that everyone can follow. Everyone has different study habits, and I would just recommend that whatever worked throughout the 3 years of PT school, whatever got you through, I would just stick to it and just work hard. Whatever way you like to take notes, whether it's handwritten on the computer, like to highlight, put sticky notes, do whatever you want, whatever will help you focus and really retain that information and understand it. For me, I had a running notebook with all the notes that I took throughout studying from the bigger textbook to organize it and make it a little easier to memorize or understand. After every practice test, I would definitely review every question, whether I got it right or not, to make sure I fully understood it, and take notes from those practice exams, and just put it all in this notebook. So this notebook, I will review it once a week as I add on to it. Now, let's talk about my study schedule. The majority of the NPTE, 70% roughly, covers the big 3, and that's musculoskeletal, neuromuscular, and cardiopulmonary. So I left those 3 toward the second half of my studying, so I could be more fresh with those information. So I took the first 2 weeks studying all the other stuff, like pediatrics, geriatrics, modalities, other systems, the gastrointestinal, gastrourinary systems, devices, research, intake, all that stuff. So I took about 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks, to do all of that. And I do the bulk of my studying from Monday to Thursday. And on Friday, I will take a practice exam, Saturday review, and Sunday I will take completely off. And I think that's definitely very important. Whether it doesn't have to be Sunday, it can be Saturday, but just take one day off from your studying to really do the stuff you like to do. Go out with some friends and just go work out, do whatever you want. I think that will be very helpful to really keep your mind fresh. And as for my daily schedules, I didn't really base off the amount of time I wanted to study. I based off how many pages I wanted to accomplish each day. So I think that helped me a lot, because sometimes if I say I will study 3 hours in the morning, but then I will only be focused for like an hour, so that's not really helpful. But I would go through the book and figure out how many pages are in the chapter, and then divide it by 4 days. So say the cardiopulmonary had 120 pages total, and I would study about 30 pages a day. And I actually kept it around 30 pages a day from the big book. And after I was done with those 30 pages, whether it would take 4 hours or 5 hours a day, if I felt good, I would go a little more, but if I felt drained, I would just stop right there. But I for sure have to get those 30 pages done every day, and to make sure I was on track. And then for the free time that you want to do a little more studying, do some review from the previous days. And since the NPTE is an entry-level exam, it really wants to test your knowledge on the basics, the foundations of physical therapy. And it is definitely vital to have a good foundation on like the big concepts, the gait cycle, the basic anatomy of the muscles, of the body, and how everything works. Because if you have complete understanding of that, however they want to ask the question, it doesn't matter, you'll get it right. And I thought it was definitely important during the test to really focus on not missing the easier question, and just knowing the orientation of what they're asking. Like if they're asking about the left extremity or the right extremity, make sure you don't get anything mixed up. Knowing the basics will definitely help eliminate some of the answers. Knowing your anatomy, the lateral side, if it's talking about the lateral or the medial, you will know what diagnosis tend to happen more on the lateral side as opposed to the medial side. So just knowing stuff like that. Endurance is also very important when you're taking the test. The NPTE itself is 250 questions, and the practice exams from the score builders, therapy ed, they're only 200 questions. So they're one less section than the actual NPTE. So make sure you're aware of that, and make sure you work on endurance. Make sure after you're done with those 200 questions, you're not completely drained, because on the real thing, you have another 50 more questions to go. So make sure you keep good pace. You have about an hour for each section, 50 questions. And my advice is not to get caught up on questions you haven't seen before when you're taking the NPTE. Just move on, put down an answer, move on, come back to it if you have time. So basically, don't let that question affect the ability to answer the other questions. And for anyone taking the NPTE in the future, I want to wish you all the best of luck. And I trust that if you put in the work, you guys will do great. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. And comment below if you have any more questions, something I probably didn't address, and I'd be happy to help. So thanks for watching.